Hi everyone, I'm Laura. I'm going to show you how to crochet this anglerfish. So if you've never crocheted before, take a look at my videos about how to do single crochet and how to crochet in the round. If you'd like the written version of this pattern, it's on my website and I'll leave the link in the description. So as you can see, I've made two and I've experimented with different colours. So this one's got a different coloured lower jaw and the other one is all one colour. And I haven't stuffed these at all, so it's an open piece, because I think it just looks better that way. And they hold their shape quite well as long as your tension isn't too loose. But if you'd like to stuff yours, then what you need to do is crochet a piece to close the mouth with. So you could start with 6 single crochet and a magic ring, and then increase out in multiples of 6. And then you'd need to sew it to the mouth, and then you could have a closed stuffed piece. So you're going to need a 3mm crochet hook, a stitch marker, a sewing needle, scissors, and some 6mm black safety eyes. So this is what they look like. They're a bit like screws, and these are the backs. So you can buy them online. You can see I've got a pack here, different sizes, and then the backs just come in a separate pack. So you'll need double knit yarn in purple, lilac, white, and yellow. And if you'd like to hang your fish up like I have, you can use some invisible nylon thread. So this is 0.3mm. So we're going to start with a slip knot. And we're starting at the tail end of the fish. And we're going to chain 12. So count your chains, count the V's to make sure you've got 12. And then we're going to join it in a circle with a single crochet in the first chain. So keep it so that the right side of the chain is facing you like this, and then just go into this side loop of the first chain here, and then do a single crochet. And then we're going to single crochet in the next 11 chains of the round, so that we have 12 stitches in total. So this one here, and just keep it so that it's the right way around, so the right side of the chain is outwards and it doesn't get twisted. And then we're going to work in continuous spiral rounds. So this is the last one here. And then put the stitch marker in the last stitch that you did. Rounds 2 to 4, that's 3 rounds. We're going to single crochet in every stitch. So we're not increasing or decreasing, we're just maintaining 12 stitches and going under both loops as we normally would. So I'll just show you the first round, and then you can pause the video and meet me back when you've done all 3 rounds. So take the marker out and do your last single crochet, and then the marker goes back in the last stitch that you did. You can count your stitches, make sure you've got 12, and you can see your rounds, so there's round 1 and round 2. Okay, so I've done those rounds now. You can count them like this. And this end is actually going to be flattened, but we don't need to worry about that just yet. So round 5, we're going to single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and then we're going to do an increase in the next stitch. And an increase is 2 single crochet in 1 stitch. And we're going to do that 3 times, and we'll have 15 stitches at the end of the round. So take the marker out and do your last increase. And you can count your stitches, make sure you got 15. Put the marker back in the last stitch you did. Round 6, we're going to single crochet in the next 4 stitches, and then we're going to do an increase in the next stitch, and we do that 3 times, so we have 18 stitches at the end of the round. So I'm just going to show you the first set, and then you can pause the video and meet me back when you've done that round. Okay, so I've done that round, and marker goes back in. Round 7, we're going to single crochet in the next 5 stitches, and then we're going to do an increase in the next stitch. We do that 3 times, and we'll have 21 stitches at the end of the round. So again, I'll just show you the first set, and then you can pause the video. Round 8, we're going to single crochet in the next 6 stitches, and then we're going to do an increase in the next stitch. We'll do that 3 times, and we'll have 24 stitches at the end of the round. So marker goes back in. Round 9, we're going to single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and then we're going to do an increase in the next stitch, and this time we're going to repeat that 6 times so that we have 30 stitches at the end of the round. So I'll show you this round in full, but I'll just speed it up a little bit. So take the marker out and do your last increase. And after every round I like to stretch it out and make sure it's the right shape. Marker goes back in. Round 10, we're going to single crochet in the next stitch, and then we're going to do an increase in the next stitch. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 7 stitches, and then we're going to do an increase in the next stitch. So you can count, just make sure you've got that right. And then we're going to single crochet in the next 4 stitches, and then we're going to increase in the next stitch, and we're going to repeat that section in brackets 3 times. And then we're going to single crochet in the next 5 stitches, so that we have 35 stitches at the end of this round. So you can count your stitches, make sure you've got 35. So round 11, we're going to increase in the next stitch, and then we're going to single crochet in the next 34 stitches, so that we have 36 stitches at the end of this round. So I'm going to speed up the rest of this round, but you can pause the video anytime you need to and meet me back. So as you can see, we've done 2 rounds where these increases are almost stacked on top of each other, so they're quite close to each other. So this side is the underside. So the side with the increases is the bottom side, because sticks out a little bit more than the top. So a marker goes back in. Rounds 12 to 15, that's 4 rounds. We're going to single crochet in every stitch, just maintaining 36 stitches. So I'm just going to speed up the first round to show you, but you can pause the video and meet me back when you've done all 4 rounds. So this is how it's looking at the moment, and if you haven't already flattened the end, this is the way that we're going to flatten it. Round 16, we're going to single crochet in the next 28 stitches. So I'm just going to speed that a bit up, but you can pause the video and meet me back. So I'm just counting to make sure I've got 28. Then we're going to chain 12. So count your V's to count your chains and make sure you've got 12. And then we're going to count 11 stitches after the stitch marker, and we're going to single crochet in this 11th stitch to join the chain to the opposite side. So here's the stitch marker here, so we want to start counting in the stitch next to that and count 11. And then we're going to push the hook in that 11th stitch from the outside so that the stitches are the right side facing outwards. And then put the marker in that last stitch that you did. So I'm just counting to make sure that I've got 11, so it's in the right place. So the marker goes back in that last stitch that you did, and this is now creating the start of a new round, because we're going to single crochet the top part of the head now. Round 17, single crochet in the next 17 stitches. So that takes us up to where the chain is. Again, you can pause the video anytime you need to. So last single crochet of those 17, and now we've got to the chain. So I'm just counting. Always like to count just to double check. Now we're going to single crochet in the next 12 chain loops in the back loops only. So the loop which is furthest away from you. We want to keep this chain with the right side of the V facing us. So this is the first one, and then the second one. And just make sure it doesn't get twisted and that you're doing it in the back loops all the way. I'm just going to speed this bit up a little bit. So count and make sure you've got 12. And then you can see we've got these loops left over, and that's what we're going to attach the top teeth to later on. So take the marker out of that last stitch and single crochet in the last stitch. And you should have 30 stitches in this round. Marker goes back in. Round 18, we're going to single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and then we're going to do an invisible decrease. So I'll show you how to do that. And we're going to do that 6 times so that we have 24 stitches at the end of this round. So to do an invisible decrease, we pick up the front loop of this stitch. So this is the front loop because it's closest to us. This is the back loop because it's furthest away. So pick up the front loop and then pick up the front loop of the stitch next to that. You've got 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. Then you've got 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So that's decreased by 1. And then you can see we've got the back loops remaining on the back, and we've got this diagonal piece. So we don't want to go into the side of it, we want to go into the next stitch under the V as normal. So we just repeat that. So pick up the front loop and then the front loop of the next stitch, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. And then when we get to this section, it's exactly the same as normal. So take out the marker when you've got 2 stitches remaining and do your last invisible decrease. So the marker goes back in. Round 19, we're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to do an invisible decrease. We'll do that 6 times and we'll have 18 stitches at the end of the round. So I'll just show you the first set, and then you can pause the video and meet me back when you've done that round. Okay, so this is what it's looking like now. Marker goes back in. Round 20, we're going to single crochet in the next stitch, and then we're going to do an invisible decrease, and we do that 6 times, and we'll have 12 stitches at the end of the round. Round 21, so this is the last round of decreasing. We're going to do an invisible decrease 6 times, so that we just have 6 stitches at the end of the round. So I'm going to show you this round in full, just because it's a little bit more fiddly than the previous ones. So there's the first one, and then just make sure you're going into the proper stitches and not into the side of the invisible decrease. So take out the marker when you've got 2 stitches left and do the last invisible decrease. So just count and make sure you've got 6. Put the marker back in. And we're actually going to crochet the light that comes out of the head from that point, but first of all we're going to insert the safety eyes. So we're going to insert them between round 16 and 17, 4 stitches away from where the lower jaw will be attached. So if you see on this one that I've already made, the lower jaw starts in the 3rd single crochet down from that top part. So just count 2 stitches in there and then count 2 stitches on that same row that we've already done, and then push the safety eye in. They're a bit like screws, so just push it in all the way. And then I'm just counting my rounds. So that's between round 16 and 17 on that side. And then we want the eyes to be 12 stitches apart, so count 12 stitches. And then on the other side, count 4 stitches again from where the lower jaw will start. And it might not be between round 16 and 17 this time because it's continuous spiral. So mine was between rounds 15 and 16 on this side. So just push it in. And now we need to attach the backs to the safety eyes. So just push the crochet inside out so that you've got access to it. And hold the back so that the smaller hole is at the top, and that's the end that pushes on. So just use both of your thumbs and push it down, and you should hear a clicking noise, and it should do it twice because there's sort of like 2 rings on the screw. So now we're going to continue crocheting the light that comes out of the head. So rounds 22 to 30, that's 9 rounds. We're going to single crochet in every stitch, just maintaining 6 stitches. And then when we get to the last stitch of the last row, we're going to change to yellow as we finish that last single crochet. So I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute. So I'm just going to show you the first round, and then you can pause the video and meet me back when you've done those 9 rounds, and stop before you get to the last single crochet of the last round. Okay, so I've done all those rounds. So you can count them because you can see where the invisible decreases are, and then count 9 rounds after that. So I didn't use any wire for this because I found that it held its shape quite well when I bent it into the position that I wanted. But you can use wire or pipe cleaner if you want to, and you could just push it in from the inside. So take the marker out and begin your last stitch. So push the hook in, yarn over and pull through, but don't finish that in purple. Now take a loop of yellow and pull it through those 2 loops on the hook. And that completes that last single crochet in purple, and it changes to yellow so that the future stitches will be in yellow. So round 31, we're going to single crochet in the next stitch, and then we're going to do an increase in the next stitch, and we're going to do that 3 times so that we have 9 stitches at the end of the round. So first of all, just do your first single crochet just to secure that yellow, and then cut the purple tail, just cut it a similar length to the yellow tail, and just tie those 2 ends in a double knot to secure them. And this is the point where you would push the wire in if you're going to use it. But again, I found that it just holds its shape, so I didn't need to. So we're going to continue with this round now. Just hold on to those tails to sort of get them out of the way. So the last increase, and then put the marker back in the last stitch you did. Round 32, we're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to do an increase in the next stitch. We'll do that 3 times, and we'll have 12 stitches at the end of the round. So take out the marker and do your last increase. Marker goes back in, and you can trim those ends a little bit just so that they're about that long. Round 33, we're going to do an invisible decrease 6 times, so that we just have 6 stitches at the end of the round. And this is the last round because we're going to close the hole in a minute. So take out the marker when you've got 2 stitches remaining and do your last invisible decrease. And just count and make sure you got 6. And then I use the end of my scissors to push those ends inside. You can use the end of your hook or whatever you find easiest. So fasten off, leaving a tail about this long. And then thread the tail onto your needle. And come up through the front loop only of each of those last 6 stitches. So come up from the outside each time like this. And then pull tight to gather those stitches together and close the hole. And then find a loop nearby, go through it and pull through, but not all the way. Leave a loop and go through that loop from behind. Pull tight to make a knot, and this just fastens off. And then weave through the middle and come out on the long part. And then cut the yarn close to the edge of the work and use the end of your needle to push that end inside and hide it. And then you can bend it into place and it should stay like that. So now we're going to make the tail fin. So we want to flatten the end and we want it so that the end where the tail is coming out is at the corner, and count and make sure you've got 6 spaces. So we're going to work through both layers. So count 6 and then go through the end part through both layers like that, through the 6th one, and pull up a loop of lilac. We're going to chain 2 and we're going to do a double crochet in that same stitch. So again, through both layers throughout the whole thing. So to do a double crochet, wrap the yarn around the hook, push the hook into the stitch through both layers. You can sort of catch that tail if you want. Yarn over and pull through. You've got 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. You've got 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. So that's a double crochet. And then chain 1. And then we're going to do a double crochet in the next stitch. So yarn over, push the hook into the next space, and just make sure you're going into the next space instead of the one that you've just done. It can be a little bit tricky here to see. So there we go, I've found it. Yarn over and pull through. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. And then chain 1. Now we're going to do a treble crochet in the next stitch. So wrap the yarn around the hook twice. Push the hook into the next stitch through both layers again. Yarn over and pull through. You've got 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. You've got 3 loops. Yarn over and pull through the next 2 loops. You've got 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. and that is a treble crochet. So that's the tallest stitch we can do. And we're going to chain 1, and we're going to do another treble crochet in the next stitch. So wrap the yarn around the hook twice, push the hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over and pull through the next 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. Then we're going to chain 1, then we're going to do a double crochet in the next stitch. So yarn over, push the hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through the first 2, yarn over and pull through the last 2. Then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do a double crochet in the next stitch. Then we're going to chain 2, and we're going to do a slip stitch in that same stitch where the double crochet is. So push the hook in, yarn over and pull through, and then pull that loop through the first loop on the hook, and that's a slip stitch. Now we're going to fasten off, just leave a tail about this long, and then we're going to weave in all of these tails. So start with this one, the short one, thread it onto your needle and just weave it through where it comes out of and come out through the other side. And then this one, weave it through the inside, come out the outside. And then the last one, and then cut the yarn close to the edge of the work and use the end of your needle to push those ends inside and hide them. So now we're going to make the lower jaw. So count 3 stitches down from where the top jaw is, so that chain 12 that we did, and push the hook through the 3rd stitch and pull up a loop of purple. Row 1, we're going to chain 1, this doesn't count as a stitch, and then we're going to single crochet in the same stitch. So through both loops as normal. And then we're going to single crochet in the next 13 stitches so that we have 14 stitches in total. So I've just sped this bit up, but you can pause the video. So you should have 2 free stitches remaining on the other side as well. So just count and make sure you've got 14. Row 2, we're going to chain 1 and turn, so that now we're looking at the wrong side of the stitches on the previous row, and this is the first stitch here. We're going to do a single crochet 2 together. So push the hook in the first stitch, yarn over and pull through, push the hook in the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. So that's a single crochet 2 together, and then we're going to single crochet in the next 10 stitches. And then when you've got 2 stitches remaining, we're going to do another single crochet 2 together. So push the hook in the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, push the hook in the last stitch, and this stitch can be a bit tight and fiddly, so you might need to go through the first loop and then the second loop like this. Yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. So that has decreased by 2, and we're having our decreases on the end so that it becomes like a triangle. Row 3, chain 1 and turn, and do a single crochet 2 together. Then single crochet in the next 8 stitches. I've just sped this part up just to show you. And then single crochet 2 together. And you should have 10 stitches at the end of this row. Row 4, chain 1 and turn. And then single crochet 2 together. Then single crochet in the next 6 stitches. And single crochet 2 together. And you should have 8 stitches at the end of this row. Row 5, chain 1 and turn, single crochet 2 together, and single crochet in the next 4 stitches. And then single crochet 2 together, and you should have 6 stitches at the end of this row. Row 6, chain 1 and turn, and we're just going to single crochet in every stitch, just maintaining 6 stitches, and this is the last row. Now we're going to fasten off and weave in the tails. So thread the tail onto your needle, and we're going to weave it into the back of the stitches. So just picking up loops from the back of each stitch. So I normally just pick up one of the loops from each stitch, and then go down to the row before that and go in the opposite direction. And that just makes it a bit more secure. And then cut the yarn close to the edge of the work. And then you can sort of fold that lower jaw down, and we're going to weave in the other end in the same way. And in the other direction, just make sure you don't pull it too tight because it can sort of pull it out of shape a little bit. And cut the yarn close to the edge of the work. So now we're going to pull a loop of purple through the space between the ends of the rows at the corner, because this edge is a bit jagged, so we want to smooth it off with a nice round of single crochet. So this is the corner space here. So it's not actually a proper stitch, it's just the spaces between the ends of the rows. So chain 1, and we're going to single crochet in that same space. And then we're going to single crochet in the next 5 spaces. So it's going through a bit of a thicker bit, so it's not just picking up one loop from the edge, it's like actually the space. So once you've done 5 here, you should be up to the point of the top row. So just count and make sure you've got 6, and make sure that you're close to that top row with the first stitch. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 6 stitches at the top, so these are proper stitches. So the last one might be a little bit tight and fiddly again. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 5 spaces between the ends of the rows down the other side. And we'll have 17 stitches in total. So the last stitch should end here, so that's what it looks like. And count and make sure you've got 17. Fasten off, leave a little bit of a tail just to weave the ends in. So we're just going to weave the ends in the same way as we did before. So now we're going to make the top teeth. So we've got 12 loops here left over, and that's what we're going to be working in. So pull up a loop of white in the corner loop here. And chain 3. And starting in the second stitch from the hook, so this one here, we're going to do a slip stitch just in the side of that chain. And then we're going to single crochet in the next stitch. So with this first one, it might come a bit loose because it's a loose end from where we pulled up the loop. So just pull on that short tail to tighten it. And then we're going to skip 1 stitch, so 1 of these purple loops, and we're going to slip stitch in the next stitch. And we're going to repeat the section in bracket 6 times so that we have 6 teeth in total. So chain 3, and starting in the second stitch from the hook, slip stitch, and single crochet in the next stitch, skip 1 chain loop and slip stitch in the next stitch, and then repeat until we have 6 teeth. So I'm just going to speed this up to show you. So when you get to the end, you'll only have one chain loop remaining, so there won't be one to skip. So just slip stitch in that last chain loop to finish off. Fasten off, leaving a tail, and then weave in the tail. So just weave it in the same way that we did before, so on the purple bit. And cut the yarn, and then weave in the other tail. So now we're going to do the lower teeth. So pull up a loop of white in the corner stitch, so the first single crochet there through both loops. And the bottom teeth are made in exactly the same way as the top teeth, except this time we're going to have 8 teeth, so we're going to repeat the part in brackets 8 times. So chain 3, starting in the second stitch from the hook, slip stitch, then single crochet in the next stitch, skip 1 stitch, so 1 full single crochet and slip stitch in the next stitch, and then repeat. So I'm just going to show you a few teeth and then you can pause the video and meet me back. So I'm making my last tooth now. And on this one you have a stitch to skip, so you'll end on the last purple stitch. So cut the yarn, and then the same as before, we're going to weave in the tails. So now you can curve these teeth upwards so that they're not sticking out flat like that. And you can shape it how you want it to be. So now we're going to make the back middle fin using lilac. So make a slip knot and chain 6. And starting in the second stitch from the hook, we're going to do a slip stitch. So this one here. Then we're going to single crochet in the next stitch. Then we're going to do a treble crochet. So we're jumping from a single crochet to a treble, so that's going up in height by quite a lot. So you'll notice that that loop is a little bit longer because we've jumped up in height, so it had to stretch further. Then we're going to chain one, and we're going to do a treble in that same stitch. And then we're going to do a half double crochet in the next stitch. So yarn over, push the hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull through, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook, and that's a half double crochet. And then we're going to slip stitch in the last stitch. And then fasten off, leaving a tail for sewing, so about this long. And then I'm not going to weave that tail into the back of the stitches, I'm going to weave it into the fish once I've sewn it on. So thread the long tail onto your needle, and we're going to sew it on the top in the middle, starting on the 6th round from the last round of the tail end. So just pick up a loop from the surface of the stitches and then go through the chain loop. And then just do this all the way down, staying in a straight line. And then to fasten off, go through a loop nearby, pull through but not all the way, and go through that loop from behind and pull tight to make a knot. And then weave that tail in, just go back in near where you came out and weave it through the inside and come out through the mouth. And then do the same with the other tail. And then you can trim those ends so that they're shorter and then just push them inside. Now we're going to make the side fins in lilac again, and we're going to make 2 the same. So make a slip knot, leaving a longer tail than you usually would at the start, because we're going to use this for sewing. So about that long. And then chain 4. And starting in the 2nd stitch from the hook, we're going to do a slip stitch. And then we're going to single crochet in the next stitch. And then we're going to do a double crochet in the next stitch. So this is the last stitch that we've got. And then we're going to chain 1. And we're going to do another double crochet in that same stitch. And then we're going to fasten off, just leaving a little bit of a tail, because we're going to weave that tail in to the back of the stitches. So just pick up loops from the back of the stitches. Try not to pull too tight so it pulls it out of shape, and then go in the opposite direction and cut the yarn close to the edge of the work. And then thread that tail from the slip knot onto your needle. And you can see that this is like a triangle. So we're going to sew it to the 9th round from the tail end on each side. So pick up a loop from the surface in the middle. And we're only going to sew that end point on. The rest of it is going to be left free. So just go into that end point loop there and just make a couple of stitches. So then go back through that same purple loop. And then I'm actually going to lift that loop back up and fasten off in the same way as we did before. And then weave the tail in through the body and come out the mouth. And then trim that tail and just tuck it inside. And then repeat the same for the other fin on the other side. So if you want to hang your fish up, you can use the nylon thread. So I'm using 0.3mm invisible nylon thread. So measure a length of it, which is 30 centimeters long. So this is the kind of thing that you'd use for jewelry making, like making bracelets and things, but it's actually non-stretch, the one that I use. So thread the end onto your needle and then find a loop in the middle between the eyes at the top. So this is what I did on the other one. It's about here. So I'm just counting the number of rounds to make sure that it's the same distance away from the light. And then pull it through. And then make both ends the same length so that they meet at the end. Now we're going to tie it in a knot, and in order to make this knot not come undone with this kind of material, we have to wrap it, we have to pull it under once and then pull it under a second time, and then pull on those ends a little bit just so you've got some extra length. And then we're going to repeat that above that. So cross them over, wrap it under, and then wrap it under again. And then pull those together. So then that creates a knot which won't come undone. Because if you just try and do a normal knot where you only wrap it under once, it comes undone because there's not enough resistance with this type of thread. So pull really tight. And then thread one of the ends onto the needle. And then weave that through where it comes out of. And just come out of the mouth. And then as you do that, that should pull through the other end as well. But grab hold of the loop. And then just pull up on the loop. And you can hide those ends inside. And there we have it. The anglerfish is finished, and now you can hang it up and he will spin around. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I'd love to see a photo of your anglerfish. You can share it with me by tagging me on Instagram at Laura_Wilson01. I also have an Etsy shop where I design and sell crochet patterns called Laura Wilson Designs. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave a link in the description. If you like this video and you want to see more like this, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.